X-Men The Last Stand. There's a lot of grievances to unpack here. But let's go ahead and do this review. To be fair, there is some good in here. There's some shining moments. But for the most part, if you're an X-Men fan, you're going to feel incredibly insulted. I almost feel like they wanted somebody to blow their brains out due to the level of devastation that takes place in this film toward an X-Men fan. The amount of grievances. But let's talk about the few good things that are actually in here. Since it'll be a lot easier to cover that before covering all the bad things. There's a tremendous amount. Uh, the few good things in here, Beast primarily. This really incredible casting choice for Beast. And Beast performs incredibly well. Like, action levels, in terms of personality too. Like, just some great lines in here from Beast. He was great all around, just tremendous. Few complaints I have that they do say that there are indications that he was part of the team, like when they go to suit up or whatever. It's like, I'm amazed that this ever fit me. Uh, so at some point he was part of the team in this X-Men universe. However, we seen him in the previous film where he's human, and uh, but he was awesome. He was amazing. I'd like to see him again. More of this beast. More of this beast. Come on. But anyways, aside from Beast, Shadowcat was okay. She had a few shining moments in action scenes only, really. Uh, for the most part, I wouldn't have chose Ellen Page, but she did a fair enough job. However, the character doesn't have a lot to do in the film itself. It's more just everything going on with her is the subplot going on with Rogue, where she wants to go cure herself. And here's the thing: is I guess this is supposed to be based off the misleading cure or whatever that was promised. Uh, that has to do with Apocalypse and the Four Horsemen and all that. But in the movie, it's different. They use the character Leech. He just My complaint too is Leech just looks like a normal human boy, and when people get close to him, it deactivates their powers. Even like in terms of appearances, like Beast's hand, it it goes back to human in the presence of Leech. Now, I'm familiar with Leech somewhat, from the 90s animated series mostly. I know that he's part of the Morlocks and all that, and, I'm familiar with him from, like, Gambit comics and stuff, but, all the Morlock stuff, pretty much. But, uh, I just didn't like the appearance of Leech in here, like the way he is. I didn't really like any of the storyline. It does kind of come full circle originally. I mean, if you think about in the first movie, Magneto wanted to make everybody mutants, and now here's a cure, and they're not forcing anybody, but here's a cure to make mutants human. So that is interesting in terms of it kind of came full circle. They're doing the direct opposite here of what Magneto was doing in the first movie. In the first movie, he was going to force everybody to become mutants. Now, here, the humans are providing the option for the mutants to become humans. Of course, they do load up their weapons and stuff with the cure when they're attacked by mutants. So, mutants get shot, they get cured, boom, bam. Uh, Other things in here that were good to me. Pyro got his device hooked up where he can just use his firepower all the time. Iceman goes solid ice form. A Storm actually gets quality action and a decent chunk of story. Now, uh, one thing that was likable, the casting for Angel. Uh, but this is very, very late for Angel to come into the game. Angel's one of the original six X-Men. Here he is in the third and final film, and he's not even an official X-Men. So that kind of bothered me. He looked great. the casting was great. But that bothered me. That really bothered me. A lot of things in this movie bothered me. Um, so my understanding is that Bryan Singer jumped ship. He jumped from Marvel to DC, and that's pretty offensive right there. You jump to the rival company, but all these molestation allegations and stuff. He jumped ship from one to another, and it's amazing to me how he could work on either one of them, considering the circumstances of the molestation allegations of numerous underage boys. Uh, it wouldn't surprise me if something literally happened to a lot of the people that played in these X-Men movies, considering those allegations. But beyond that, okay, so hands, different person behind this one, running the ship, running the show. But just good God, they slaughter everybody. Like Cyclops in here, they just throw him out. They just kill him in the worst way possible. They have Jean Grey kill him. That was Cyclops gets nothing good in here. He's just devastated about what happened with Jean in the last film, and here he gets killed by Jean because he goes there. He shoots at the water. He's the whole reason Jean gets back up, I guess. Wasn't really explained, but she kills him. She kills him. Uh, he dies. Cyclops isn't important, I guess, to you know this film franchise. It's ridiculous. Wolverine is pretty much made the leader, even though technically in the film they go on about passing. Xavier goes on about passing the torch on to Storm, and she's supposed to be the leader and all that in film, but Wolverine's the one making all the speeches and stuff like that. Like they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that, and so it's weird. And I don't like Halle Berry's performance in here at all. I think she sucks. She comes off kind of bitchy and moody, and it's like, what is your problem, man? And then she comes off like she's overly egotistical, like walking walking through when they're walking through to go look for Jean, like she's like, "Oh, you want me to clear this up?" Like, of course, he can't see through the shit. There's several lines in there delivered from her that are like that. In terms of action, she did well. She got some pretty good action scenes. That I just thought she sucked. I really thought she sucked. Um, and it's a cool thing you get a little Sentinel Easter egg because they do finally do the danger room thing, and the one of the opening scenes they have them in the danger room, and it's kind of misleading. It makes you think they're in real action, but due to Wolverine's behavior, how he's just all like, yeah, about everything going on in there. Uh, you can tell it's a danger room scenario, and it turns out to be a danger room scenario. But they do reveal a Sentinel head. Uh, the head looks kind of small in comparison to the actual characters next to it, so that's disappointing. And it's not colored like. But it was cool to see a Sentinel head. Unfortunately, they never did anything with them in these three movies. There's no mention of where Nightcrawler is or why. I think that was explained in some X-Men games. And Colossus still sucks. He's just kind of he's one of the main characters in here, but he barely says anything. If he says anything at all, I don't remember. But it's just the last film he didn't have an accent, so this Colossus just has no presence, no impact. Good Colossus is in the Deadpool movie, as well as the Juggernaut is way better in Deadpool 2 than he is here. There's Vinnie Jones playing Juggernaut, and they said he's a mutant, and you know the mutant powers works on him because he knocks himself out in the presence of Leech. Shadowcat got one over on him, and that was pretty cool. But he's classified as a mutant here, like just nothing about the gym and all that. And Vinnie Jones, just not my liking right here. Magneto's behavior is so strange in here. Uh, Jean Grey kills Professor Xavier or something to that effect. It's a little confusing because the ending's never really explained, and then they try to reboot the whole thing. I don't know. I'll have to rewatch all the films that come after this to try to figure that out. But essentially, uh, they try to stop Jean because once she gets up, she's a different person. Xavier explains he put mental blocks in her because she has this behavior, pretty much the dormant personality that's just wild, wants to be free, and is incredibly dangerous, has no control over her powers. Uh, Essentially, the Phoenix, in their version, the Phoenix is dormant in Jean all along, and she's incredibly overpowered. And Xavier and Logan kind of butt heads a little bit because he said he had to control her. And anyway, she ends up killing Xavier, like just like obliterating him or whatever, turning him to dust. And Magneto's rather than this doesn't seem like Magneto at all. Okay, he takes Jean with him and is like, oh well, whatever. Xavier's dead. Like he doesn't seem to care at all. He's just more concerned about this cure and all that. And he's gonna use Jean as a weapon. I think comic book Magneto, the versions I'm familiar with in the '90s animated series Magneto, I think that he would probably try to kill Jean Grey if she killed Xavier. It just and Magneto's just his behavior in here. Like when Mystique gets cured, uh, he just like when Mystique accidentally gets cured, helping him doing his mission, she is just left there laying there naked and Magneto's like, "Oh, you're dead to me now," uh, and later in the film too, he uses a bunch of generic mutants as cannon fodder or whatever, and he's like, "That's why the pawns go first." And you can tell the reaction of the other mutants, even though they still go along with his psychotic mission. Um, You're like, "What the hell, man? They're mutants too. You're supposed to care about us. This whole thing's about." It's just Magneto comes off incredibly evil in here. Gives Doesn't care about anybody at all. Really. Does not care. Uh, Pyro and Iceman had their little standoff thing in here, so, you know, that was neat. Uh, so many generic mutants in here, like the porcupine guy. They're always throwing, and the other guy throwing spikes, 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 and like he's gonna run to Wolverine throwing spikes, hoping that he gets Wolverine first before Wolverine jumps at him and stabs the hell out of him. There's a lack of blood too when Wolverine's cutting everybody up. And there's all kinds of things that don't make sense in here, like the final standoff. Like, oh, Iceman, Wolverine, Shadowcat, Colossus, and Storm and Beast. They all show up to defend the army from this big ass crowd of mutants, and uh, they just let all those mutants charge toward him when Storm could easily like just wipe them all out. But instead, Storm decides to not do anything until they're all charging at him. And then she tries to fly up and do something about it, and that fast chick catches her. And they get into a little fight there. I'm not sure who most of these mutants were that were actually with Magneto, because either they look like nothing like the comic book counterparts, or they're just too obscure for me. But damn, this film, man, it's such a devastating thing to watch Xavier get killed. Uh, Cyclops gets killed like he's nobody. You know, and Magneto gets cured. Uh, Mystique gets cured. Wolverine has to kill Jean Grey. Man, this movie is just like I wanted X-Men fans to blow their brains out or some shit. It had quality action. It had some quality effects and stuff, and acting wasn't too bad. Like I said, I didn't like Halle Berry's performance at all. But for me, she's always been miscast as Storm. Uh, they, they do really try to go with the second team from X-Men comic books, really, by having Colossus, Storm, Wolverine, um, not necessarily Iceman, but Shadowcat. Uh, don't know why Nightcrawler wasn't here. Beast was the best thing about this film. It's absolutely exceptional. Unfortunately, it comes in such a terrible film that, the actor himself might think he might have been responsible for why it's so bad or something to that effect. Really, it's not. He should have been put in a much better movie than this. That's a shameful waste of a great casting choice. Uh, Shameful. And Jesus, man, this movie. It just wants you to suffer. It wants you to suffer. Oh, yeah. Magneto, he ends up all sad, playing his little chest alone, trying to move the little chest piece. What really doesn't make sense for me is at the end credits, Xavier's in a hospital. He starts talking. A woman comes in that turns out to be Moira McTaggart. She comes in and uh, she says good morning, and he speaks to her. He says her name, and she's like surprised, but this was. I gotta go watch like the other ones, First Class, Age of Apocalypse, and Days of Future Past to see if they explain what the hell just happened here. Because as far as I know, it didn't. No, nothing ever came of this, and the timelines are all messed up in the X-Men universe. Nothing ever makes sense to. So when you get in those three films, they really make these timelines seem so like, okay, what's what? But yeah, like they do not do a good job. They just do not care about timeline at all. Um, Damn, this movie, man. I guess I'd give it. I'm just Jesus. I don't know. Logan, good as always. Hugh Jackman. I mean, good as always. But Jesus, damn, man. The Archangel was good. They just like jump in the beginning. They just like jump from scene to scene to scene, like a bunch of different unrelated things. Kind of are. I mean, they are related, but it's just jumping from. This movie had a lot of unnecessary things in it that it didn't really need. But for the most part, it's just a slaughter fest of X Men and caricatures and just nah, nah. But I'm gonna give this film a a 2 out of 10 because I really, really like the Beast. I really like Beast in here. I really wish I could see more of him as Beast in this fashion because he was incredible. 2 out of 10. Like, subscribe, comment, tell me what you think of this Slaughterfest. Stay awesome, rock on.